Leaders Show. I'm your host today, Adrian Evans, and this is where I have a fireside chat with leaders from the industry and throughout the payments ecosystem. They share how they lead their teams, how they lead their people with a human-centric way of achieving goals. And that means about achieving tasks through people. As we know, one of the greatest challenges within the payment system is how do you build a culture that allows others within the business to unlock their latent potential whilst naturally realizing high performance for the company. Now, one of the most accomplished is Angela Yor. Angela is CEO of Sky Parlour. Welcome, Angela, today.
Hello. Hi.
Thank
you for having me, by the way.
Oh, absolutely delighted. Absolutely delighted. So Sky Parlour is a fintech and payments industry-focused communications agency. And she's also on the advisory board of the Payments Association and is right at the heart of an industry she's very passionate about. I'm reliably informed by our mutual contact and connection, Anand Patel. So a quick shout out to Anand to make sure that he knows that he's, even though he's not here, he is within our thoughts. That you lead in a human-centric way and you're always looking to give and connect people within the industry so that all boats can rise and not just selected ones. So thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule and welcome today.
Thank you. I think I must at this point shout out to my business partner as well, because we're joint MDs of the company.
Right, okay.
And also co-founders as well. Her name's Kimberly.
Kimberly, right, excellent, excellent. So I wonder if you could share the choices you've made in your career, Angela.
Choices I've made in my career. So I studied marketing at university, business studies and marketing. So I knew the first choice I was going to make was I wanted to be in marketing. I've always loved marketing.
Okay.
And then from marketing leadership. So when I initially at the beginning of my journey for graduating, I managed to secure, in the days when you could, 3 roles, and one was in buying for Costco. The other one was this new thing that had just come out, which was called telephone banking, which was Citigroup were launching. And then the third one was working in a marketing role, but it was marketing for technology, so it was B2B. And even in those early days, my other conscious decision was I always loved technology. Right, and already had noticed that there wasn't enough women in technology as well. So I purposely ended up working for a company called OSE, which was bought by Canon, and Canon are the people that make cameras, as you know, no longer exist, but they evolved into printing and many other areas. So technology and innovation was always a choice for me as well. So even within the roles that I did at OSE and then afterwards at Xerox, I always chose areas and roles that gave me the latitude to be creative and innovative, and always chose areas which were, not the sort of cash cow of the business, but the new emerging areas of the business.
Yep.
So at Canon, it was important for me to work on the color printers because color was just emerging into the office at the time. And then they kind of moved more into outsourcing. So as they moved into outsourcing, I wanted to then get into the outsourcing division. And then small office, home office printing became a thing. So who was the first to put their hand up to get into that environment?
Yeah.
So there's a kind of a theme there in terms of choices, and the choices were always, led with technology, innovation, and then, as I'd sort of done very well in my corporate life, I wanted to try more entrepreneurial environments, and that's when in the early 2000s I moved into e-commerce, working for a fraud prevention company. And really then I really understood how exciting it was to be in sort of that scale up environment where you're testing and learning as you go along, where you're able to make you're empowered to make leadership decisions without being sort of in the corporate environment, more in often in specific areas. And also you're able to grasp opportunities as you see them, as you research them. So moving from large corporate into more that sort of scale up environment, that entrepreneurial environment, then gave me that flavor for thinking, whoa, there's so many like clever entrepreneurs that have used technology in a human centric way to solve real problems. And I really sort of took to the whole fintech space. At the time we called it payments, the payment space, and payment fraud prevention as well. We were using artificial intelligence at that point, so the technology was like really still fascinating to actually catch fraudsters, and machine learning. Even back then, now it's so intuitive with Chat GTP and all the other stuff. But yeah. And so that entrepreneurial flavor then gave me that leap of faith to be around entrepreneurs. So I was able then to sort of think about what do I love the most? I love marketing. What also do I love? I love fintech and technology. How could I make that into a business? Well, I want to do something that I'm good at and I know that I can add value at, because adding value is the most important thing we can do as entrepreneurs. So that's how I ended up pivoting. Myself and my business partner Kimberly started Sky Parlour in 2009, which was just after the last financial crash. Because every financial crash, there's opportunity. So it's not, we haven't got a financial crash at the minute. We're just going through some hard times. But we can see at the minute, although some elements of the sector may be sort of plateauing, others are really thriving. And that's when we started our company, because people wanted communications for their businesses, working with people that really understood their sector and how to communicate in a way that was impactful. And we're very proud of, both of us are very, very proud of what we've achieved with Sky Parlour. And we're most of all, we're proud of the people that we that every single day within Sky Parlour bring their whole selves to work and do amazing things for our clients, of which we've got clients on all four corners of the globe. So I guess that's my journey. My choices were often not by accident, but where they actually then led was always sometimes surprising, sometimes interesting, sometimes I plateaued. But in those times there was that theme of technology, marketing, entrepreneurship, and things that were innovative and new. And if you look at my favorite person in the world at the minute, the fictitious character of Ted Lasso. So for any of you that haven't watched it, please do, because it's so warm. It's so
Is this
about
on Apple
leadership.
TV? Is this the one on Apple TV?
On Apple TV,
okay, yeah.
So Ted, who's my idol, he's an American football coach, a successful, modicum of success in America, and he's all about building the team. He then decides to come to the UK to be coach for Richmond AFC in the Premier Division, with no knowledge of football whatsoever. And everybody's laughing in his face. The actual CEO wants the football club to fail because she has a vendetta against her ex-husband. And all I'll say is that you can see his journey and his choices. He was willing to do something completely different. A bit outlandish, but it's worth looking at his warm, kind, and human-centric journey.
I am a big fan too here, because actually that's a very human journey. Whether you're into sports or not, but it's a very human journey. So and I love what you said there. I was fortunate enough to hear you speak recently, or when you were moderating, and how you captured about there's always opportunity. And I think at the moment that there's a message of hope we can give people, whether it's looking for a new job or looking for to create the next business opportunity, etc. I think there is always opportunity out there, and thank you for sharing that hope. So you're responsible for all aspects of success at Sky Parlour along with Kimberly. So how how important is customer empathy and connection? Because I've seen that from you, the deep customer empathy you have. How important is that in creating innovative communication?
I mean, it's everything.
Okay.
Because when you think about the people that we work with, firstly, most of our customers we work with on an ongoing basis, so months on months on months on months. So you really build a strong bond with them, and also you become an extension of their team, but also you're an addition, you add something special or different to the team,
Okay.
because our job is not to be internal and run their marketing department. Our job is to decode what they're currently doing, or create what they're currently doing if they haven't got anything, and take them somewhere where they've never been before, when it comes to communication. But
Right.
the issue with that is you can't do that at all unless you have empathy and trust with your
Yeah.
clients.
Yeah.
So when we initially start working with clients, the first thing we do is get all the key stakeholders around the table, and we actually create their messaging, how their tone of voice, their vision, mission, and values, their key
Okay.
talking points. We do that. To do that, they have to kick their shoes off, and they have to really relax. Some of the people that we're working with, it's not natural to them.
Yeah, I can imagine.
They might now be CEOs, but previously they may have been in finance or technology, and just as the same way as I would get, maybe initially, sort of ask somebody asking me to look at coding, it would send shivers down my spine. We can see that, when we sort of work with specific people. So building that empathy and trust from the get-go is really, really important. But what you find is by going through that journey with people, you find that they really often have a lot to bring to the table, but
Absolutely.
they just weren't able to unleash it. So it's brilliant, and to do that, and to be part of their journey. And there has been examples where we've seen people have nirvana moments when it comes to their how they want to communicate their business to their clients. They realize, for any marketeers out there who are followers of Simon Sinek, like I am, they realize that it's not what you do and how you do it, but it's
Wow.
why you do what you want. It always in the end comes back to standing up for the crowd, from the crowd, for why you do what you do. Whether
Yeah.
it's making people's life easier, whether it's making things more convenient, whether it's helping them make more money within their business by reducing their costs. It's still around, in the end, it's still around the people, and the why factor.
Yeah.
So and in addition to that, especially in PR, in the environment that we're in, often we are there writing about things when our customers have crises. So you've got, it could be something big going on in the company. They may have been sued. They might be exiting someone that's problematic.
Yeah. Yeah.
They might in payments, companies have outages. We've been, over the years, there's been companies that have systems have gone down at busy shopping periods, or other big issues that could happen. There's the issue that we're all working to communicate about to the outside world, but then there's the actual fear on people's faces, and these people love their businesses,
Of course.
whether they're working for somebody, or whether they're it's their business. And you have to sort of like be there to sort of understand how difficult it must be for them at that point in time. And I've got so many examples of the actual human side of what we do,
Yeah.
that often much of which I wouldn't be able to go into, but it's always a big part. It's not about the numbers, is it? It is always about the people. It's always about the people.
Well, that's wonderful. So, obviously, from many of our conversations, the why of what we do and the connection we can have with people is a big driver for me personally. But I think in the payments industry as well is the if something needs developing, if it needs coding, if it needs selling, if it needs marketing, it comes down to people. That's why this show exists. So I couldn't concur more with what you just shared. I wonder if we could go a bit deeper. And I'm reliably informed that you're a leader who's committed to lead with curiosity and decency. Can you tell us where that comes from, and what's the connection between curiosity, decency, and commercial success?
Well, I had a conversation with somebody yesterday about this, and there is definitely a connection between curiosity, decency, and success. But there are different ways. You may not like this, Adrian, but there are different ways to get success. And there's also people out there that are very, very uber successful that don't display those characteristics.
200%.
And there's two ways of doing it, isn't there? Or there's
Yep.
two, there's and actually there's two ways of doing it. And in between, at times, me included, you can sort of veer from one to the other based on the sort of amount of stress that you may well have at that particular time. None of us are perfect. Even Ted Lasso, there's examples in Ted Lasso where even he has fallen foul of his own situations, or his own decency, if you like. But I guess the point I guess I wanted to make is that when you don't want to be remembered for I made a lot of money, and that's it. So I think you've got to think about what as a human being, what is it I want to, what legacy do I want to leave. And I think all of us want to most of us want to be a force for good, and to do that, it's not about the individual, it's about the team. And again, we'll mention an aunt just because we know that he'll be listening and he'll be pleased, or he might phone us if we don't. He always talks about one team, and I think that's very, very important, isn't it? It's really important to have that one team. And again, back to Ted Lasso, his example with the kit man that he brought on called Nate, who then became, the sort of senior strategist within Richmond AFC. But they fell out because Ted wasn't paying him enough attention, and he thought that meant that Ted, in the end, wasn't, interested in him anymore. So he goes to the arch rival team that's being led by Rebecca's ex-husband, who was awful to her, and he becomes the coach there. And Nate's asked in a press conference, so where do you think Richmond AFC are going to come out of 20 this year? And he turns around and says, well, if there was a 21st, that's where they'd come. And Ted chooses the route of not saying anything back and getting into that debate, because he knew that ultimately that Nate felt crossed by Ted, and he feels a sense of guilt to that. But B, he takes the higher ground, and the higher ground for him is he wants everyone to be happy, and he wants Nate back on side. So he sees the bigger picture, and that's hard to do. When you feel, in business, if you feel that you've been crossed or there's a misunderstanding or whatever those things are, it is hard to take the higher ground. But I see some wonderful people doing that, and some wonderful examples of that, of people that I've worked with. And myself, I've done both. But you have those moments where crosses in the road where you realize, well, what route do I want to take? And commercial success is always more rewarding if you take the good route.
Yeah, look, thank you. I couldn't agree more. First of all, everyone has choice, and I'm certainly no saint. And actually, I very much earlier on in my career, I was highly driven in running sales teams, etc. I think over time, though, I think what I suppose I like these days is, I think what you were saying there about how do you want to be remembered and how do you want to show up, because that's a choice. I actually think in the payments industry, you don't get very far even if you're a huge player on your own, yeah, because you can't do anything on, you got a four-party model. They might get this intermediate at some point or whatever's going to happen, but you can't do much in the payments industry on your own. And I just find that nobody's perfect in that sense. But I do think we all have a chance to say each day, how do I want to show up today? And that's the thing I remind myself of when, and I just think it's good energy as well. There was somebody yesterday who I'd never even heard of, who was actively looking for a job, and he reached out. I just sent him a couple of modules to hopefully help him on my way.
You've done that with me as well, Adrian. You've been
No.
very kind to do that with me, where you sent me some really good content, which I very much appreciate and has helped.
Well, thank you. But do you know what though, Angela? I almost think that instantly I get a significant rise in energy. I had a wonderful afternoon yesterday as a result of helping somebody else out. Now, not everybody's wired like that. I'm not saying everybody needs to be wired like that. I'm just saying actually there's a nicer way to do business and be successful. It's not one or the other for me.
I completely agree. And I think there was one other point as well that I think's crucial here is, if you're dealing with people, and the curiosity bit's the really important bit, isn't it? It's the reading of the room. People say one thing, sometimes mean another, or people don't say anything, and that's still a way of communicating in a way. And I think, understanding the language of communication is different for different people, and having the curiosity and the decency to get behind the bonnet. I mean, we now talk much more these days about neurodiversity than we ever did. And, there's been people that I've dealt with over the years, and sometimes I've found, maybe their emails to be short, or, the behaviour, like, not behaviors, but that they kind of communicate maybe differently to me. Doesn't mean to say they're wrong, of course, but it's not at all. But sometimes I think that, you've got to, be sort of in a situation where to understand what might be lying behind that as well, and embrace that, embrace that in certain circumstances. Like we had somebody in the company recently who was neurodiverse. That way of communicating was better for certain things, but very chaotic when it came to and difficult when it came to managing others, because but you being aware of those things are all part of that, getting behind the bonnet, that curiosity, and they all lead to commercial success.
Well, I love the link you put there between curiosity leads to empathy, can lead to decency, which leads to a path of trust. So look,
I know very well.
Thank you. I get the easy job. I get to just summarize the great work that my clients, my guests do. So, we're very passionate together about reducing and ultimately surpassing the gender opportunity and pay gap. Could you share your lens on that, please?
Yeah, I mean, it's always been there, and it's still there. The Findexable Diversity Radar, it's run by a lovely lady that and team called Denise G, that I've been part of over the years. There's a global survey of companies. They're all fintechs. They're all independent fintechs, so that we're not talking about the large multinationals. I think the large multinationals have got it more right than the sort of that's SME sector, which is comprises of most of our industry. It's still CEOs of 6,000 companies. We're talking about 1%. So people might say, oh well, we shouldn't be talking about it, and women and men are the same and all of that. So let's just be good leaders or good whatever. But I think it's still a debate and something that we need to discuss, because there is still a gender pay gap there, and it isn't going away. And at the minute, it's great to see the large companies lead and change, and they have done beyond recognition recently. But we need to see that go throughout where 80% of the workforce is, which is in the SME sector, and some of that also is. I always say, in technology particularly. Early on in my career, I always wanted to sort of fit in. So it was important. And I was always around, a very male heavy environment. So my way of fitting in was to sort of try to act like the men and, you know, be direct and be alpha and, you know, do all those things. And, you know, still some of those characteristics come out sometimes. But really, you know, what I really want to message I want to get through is that I think that, you know, you talked about it earlier, bringing your whole self to the table means that being appreciated for the skills that you have, which are different from most of the people that sit on the board, which tend to be, you know, still these days, it still tends to be sort of white males. And I don't want to go into the boardroom and be alpha, because A, it's not me, and B, it's not where, you know, what I can bring that's different. So why would I want to go in and act the same as everybody else? That's not going to create change. For me, it's about going in and adding what I can bring. So, you know, I think having the confidence to know that, you know, we're, as women, and our skills, you know, are varied as men's are, but, you know, being able to you know, bring your skills that, you know, that matter about you to the table, and not trying to fit in, number one, but also, you know, realizing that if you're, you know, applying for a new role, or that you know, that don't wait till you've got all the skills. I'm sure you would have said this to people over the years with the work that you've done, Adrian, but why on earth would you want to take a job on that you can do? Where's the stretch in it for you? You know,
it's a lateral move.
Exactly. So, and I think that's where men are really, like, you know, men that I've met over the years have been brilliant, because they'll say, well, I can't do this, right, bring it on. Whereas a woman might say, well, I can't do this, so I can't apply. And I think that would be something that I would like to see. You know, you don't want all the skills, you actually want to be only able to do 50% of it, so that you, it's not just about the company gaining from this scenario, it'll only work if you both gain. And you know, put yourself in the frame would be my you know, suggestion on that as well.
Wonderful. Well, I have theme of the week. I advertise this on LinkedIn. I just started this week. I'm working with a communications agency, and theme of the week this week is show up as you.
Show up as you. Very good.
And it couldn't be more timely. But I love what you said there as well about, you know, respect the diversity that you bring and the skill set you, because it's different. And actually, we do need different to get stuff done. You know, we need different things. And also, why would you accept a lateral move from that perspective? But, you know, I felt for my poor daughter last year, you know, having, you know, me as a career coach, and she got a new summer job. And I said to her, I'm delighted to get this job, Dad. And I said, right, what are they paying you per hour? And she saw this, which was very good. And I said, really? And she went, oh, good. Well, what's wrong? And I said, well, I know the person who did that job last year, and he was a boy, and this is what he got paid. I'd like you to go back and ask for that amount. And she was like, oh, Dad, this is your staff. It's not mine. Look, I passionately, dearly love Amelia. And I'm like, I wanted to give these skills to her and so many other women. And so she did. And it was amazing and she negotiated effectively, etc. And she didn't hardly talk to me that night, I've got to be honest. But I really wanted to show the simplicity of knowing your worth. This is not the first time that's going to happen in her life and many other women's lives. And I almost wanted her to feel that slight discomfort. But then when they said, oh, yeah, they just upped it, I was like, wow. And then I said to her, well, how many other hours would you have to now work additionally just to receive what you're already, she worked it out. So, no, I'm super passionate about this because
so good that she did that. Honestly, that's but also, you know, for a young person to do that, it's out of their comfort zone. So it got the best coaching there was, and then she got into the arena and did it herself. So you must be very proud of her, Adrian.
Well, yeah, beyond proud of what you can do. But I think the important thing is that happens every day. That happens every day in our workplaces. And I think women and other people from other backgrounds as well, understanding this is the value I bring and respecting that within the system. I think that's the conversation. It's not men versus women. You know, I'm a man at the end of the day.
No, of course not.
But it's saying, for what purpose to wear it? Anyway, I think we could probably talk about this all day. So it's probably best that we move on to the next one. So who have been the most influential people in you being able to show up as you. Because one of the things I've always loved when I see you, on stage, or you're facilitating or you're leading, you're just you. And you're just really comfortable. You've got a nice informal way about you, an informal tone, just makes the audience feel, ready to listen, and the guests feel comfortable. How do you just show up as you?
I didn't always, and I've definitely grown in confidence. And one of the things that has really helped me do that is, the people that I've recently, over the last, say, 6 or 7 years, really surrounded myself with, who
Right.
I've got a tribe of people that, and it's through the Payments Association actually, whereby I've met some incredible leaders, and they're people that have, some of which, Andrea Dunlop, who recognized things in me that I didn't see myself and gave me that helping hand. Others like Tony Craddock is all about inclusivity and fearlessness, and also about, he's all about the human being. He's all about, bringing seeing the best in people and bringing it out of them. And then, of course, Neil Harris as well, who he's so motivational. If anything, and if culture, he is amazing at. Hello FinTech, he always puts on LinkedIn, but also he's so decent and kind. All the things that we were discussing earlier. Got a huge amount of respect for him. But also we can't do this without mentioning Anant. Like recently, Anant Patel, I've got to know him over the last year, and he worked, Connects Pay are a client of Sky Parlours, and the whole team just want to work with him. Everybody wants. He's such a, even small little issues I've had with navigating particular businesses within the sector that he knows of as well. He like you, Adrian, he just can't wait to sort of help you and navigate and signpost you into that. And I'll introduce you to them. Don't you worry. It's done. It's done before you've even said anything. So, but then, I've also worked with people that are hard, very hard, but very fair and very loyal. And I've ultimately, have ultimate respect, for one of the CEOs that I worked with, who, stood when I was struggling with, sort of where to go next in my career. Carl Klump, I learned so much from him, I mean, he's honestly the real deal of all the leaders I've ever been around. But I guess, if I was to talk about the leader that inspires me most today, I have to say it's Ted. Back to Ted again. I absolutely love Ted.
Have you got a Ted mug there, have you, Angela? So you can drink your tea from Ted as well. He's got all his merchandise.
It's just that moustache. He's just got the look. He's got it all. Got it all.
Got it all. Brilliant. Wonderful. Yeah, it's fascinating about the different people we can learn from that, but who do shape us. And I was really hearing there as well about the environments we're in do shape us significantly. So just coming to that sort of 21-year-old question, what do you know today that you were talking to your 21-year-old self over a gin and tonic, or what would you say to them that would help them steer their next career
move? Well, I think I think bring your whole self to the room. We talked about this throughout the thing. I think the podcast. I think that there's been a few people that have really surprised me, that have wanted to work at Sky Parlour, who've come at it in more innovative ways. Like there's a guy that works at Sky Parlour now, who he started writing a fintech blog, and he got in touch with Kimberly and I, because he wanted to interview us for the blog, but he also wanted to work at Sky Parlour. And he showed tenacity. If it didn't work out the first time, he got back in touch the second time. And I really, people like that, everybody wants to give people like that go
Absolutely.
out of their comfort zone a try. So I'd say definitely be Amelia, go out of your comfort zone, and you'll be surprised at what happens. So I'm actually inspired by people today of that age that are doing things
Yeah.
that perhaps
Okay.
I couldn't do at the time. So we have another lady that really fantastic, bright woman that works for us, who is doing a PhD in fintech, and she interviewed me
Wow.
when she was doing her degree. She was doing a degree in geography, but she was focusing in on diversity in fintech. And she found a number of people to talk to, of which I was one. And then when she moved to Manchester to do her PhD, she got in touch and said, she was looking for work. So I think, early on, take those risks. You've got nothing to lose apart from somebody saying no. And it is scary. But afterwards, you're still alive. It's absolutely fine. But you've
Yeah.
grown from the experience. And I think for me, I would say, even today, I would say this, not just, for early on in my career, but be a goldfish, which is another saying from Ted Lasso, which is, if you have a bad game and that you come off the pitch and it hasn't worked out for you, be a goldfish, move on. Or, you said it to me just a moment ago, Adrian, it's all about moving forward, not
Yeah.
just about thinking about what happened in the past.
Absolutely.
And, that's something that, when I have done that, which I would say is probably about 5 out of 10 scenarios, it's just so empowering. You get more
Yeah.
out of it yourself being that goldfish. So I'd say to people early on in their career, if things don't work out their way, don't ponder on it. Move on. Always move on and up.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Yeah, that's one of my favorites as well, about being a goldfish. That always makes me smile. Well, Andrew, thank you so much. This is the time where I normally sort of try and break this down to 2 or 3 sort of core nuggets from there. But I'm staring at 2 pages of notes here. So I just wonder if I could just sort of quickly summarize. Um, what I heard right at the top of the show was really about there's always opportunity. And the birth of Sky Parlour really came out of the financial crisis in 2009. And it's sort of true for me as well, actually, that the birth of my book came out from that time as well. And I just
Is it?
think, yeah, absolutely, by somebody showing how to access the hidden job market in the most desperate job marketplace in my lifetime. It's very similar for yourself, there is where's the opportunity? Because if there's one thing we can take from today is actually sort of spreading that bit of hope, but not just hope, put a bit of method behind that, and actually, but by starting with the intention of looking for opportunity rather than looking for doom. So probably turn off the news for a bit, might not be a bad idea. But I love that one. I also love then how you said about the importance of customer empathy to build trust. That's how you do that with your clients. And I see how you do that in action with how they, consistently, month on month, you build those relationships and you build that trust. But to understand I suppose this is good for personal brand and a company brand, is like, rather than the what you do and then the how you're going to do it, really understand your why. Because when you understand your why, I can relate to this. My why is to positively impact 20,000 careers whilst I'm alive. That gets me out of bed every day. And when I've done some of that, I can go to sleep with a good conscience that night as well. So I love that. But also, then I love what you said about the link between curiosity, decency, and commercial success. It doesn't have to be that way. People can be purely money orientated and purely success orientated, and that's a choice. That's a choice in life. But the nice thing is there is an alternative to that as well, where you can be successful and you can take people with you. It's a choice that we all have, how we run our businesses, how we run our careers. I think the other piece then about the gender pay gap, which we could have stuck on and done for a couple of hours, I think, was actually about showing up as you. Really show up as you and know your contribution and respect your contribution as you and your personality as well. And also just question yourself, why would you take a lateral move? There needs to be stretch in there for you and the employer. And I love the way as well you've said about some of the key people you've had on your who positively impacted you as well. But actually joining an association like the Payments Association, ultimately getting advocacy around you as well, has allowed you to stretch, to develop, and grow, is the truth, and step into those areas as well. And then I love the fact that you did a different take on that, which is you're inspired by actually the younger people today who are coming up with innovative ideas or different ways of actually saying it. But I think the final one has to go to Ted, and I think it has
Yes.
to be, in the face of adversity, be like a goldfish, move on,
Yes.
and find the next opportunity.
And I must say one last thing, the final words. He says, if riding a horse is easy, then you must be doing it wrong. So don't expect any of this stuff to be easy. So therefore, if you fall off the horse, that was what was supposed to happen. Get back on.
Wonderful. Well, wonderful. Thank you very much indeed, Angela. I really appreciate your time and all your insights you've shared.
Thank you so much, Adrian. This is really valuable. Thank you for for doing these podcasts.
Thank you.